Welcome to another edition of the USF Diamond on the Hilltop podcast. I'm Brian Professor E. Davis for Usf-Tv audio podcast. This week we take a look back of the USF Dons baseball weekend review and preview from the week ending date February the 18th on a Friday through Tuesday, February 22nd, 2022. We'll be looking at a recap with USF Dons head coach Nino Giarratano. The Dons losing 2 of 3 to start off the 2022 home opener on opening day. They end up losing 2 of 3 to the UC Santa Barbara Gauchos, who many picked as one of the top teams in the country and the big threat, the challenge in the highly competitive Big West Conference. And then we'll also get a talk with USF Dons outfielder Nick Yovetich. And then also first we'll have the interview. We'll take a look back interview with Greg Wong, the voice of the UC Davis Aggies. He'll be a special guest on our podcast as the state of the UC Davis Aggies of the whole controversy scandal with the hazing incident, which led to a new head coach of Tim Nicholson, who's running the show up in Davis. We talked to him this week during our pregame show just prior before the USF Dons taking on the UC Davis Aggies in their midweek game up in Davis near Sacramento. Before we go any further, the USF Diamond on the Hilltop podcast is presented by San Francisco Toyota. San Francisco Toyota. Visit its 2 locations in the city at 1701 Van Ness Avenue and on 3800 Geary Boulevard in San Francisco. San Francisco Toyota has been serving the greater San Francisco Bay Area since 1966. We were going to start it off. Our first guest on the podcast, it's going to be USF Dons head coach Nino Giarratano. We're going to recap that series for the weekend against UC Santa Barbara Gauchos and the recap of their 6-2 win over UC Davis. And then we'll preview the Dons' next upcoming opponent when they take on the Utah Valley for their midweek game for the weekend series coming up. You're listening to USF Diamond on the Hilltop podcast presented by San Francisco Toyota on Usf-Tv Plus+Audio podcast. USF like to thank the following partners for their support of Dons Athletics. Want a free checking account that pays you? Provident Credit Union Super Reward Checking pays you dividends and features no fees. Visit providentcu.org for details. That's providentcu.org for details. Welcome to our continuing on USF Dons, our Diamond on the Hilltop podcast. For this segment, USF Dons Weekly Review and Preview from the week of Friday, February 18th through Tuesday, February the 22nd, 2022. Recap what the Dons did over the weekend through up to this point through their midweek from this past Tuesday. Game 1 of the series, the Dons had the 2022 opening day. They won by a score of 5-2 as Jordan Vujovic had a home run or the Dons fell 5-2 in Game 1, but the Dons able to bounce back, pick up their first win at 22, 6-3. Gabe Gioso 1-for-3 with a 2-run home run. Vujovic homered in Game number 2, and then Lombardo ended up going in that contest in Game number 2. He ended up 4 1/3 innings, giving up 1 earned run, walked. Midweek road game of any series or midweek of any kind. 6-2 final score. Harris Williams III, 2-for-5 with 2 RBIs with a double. The Dons had 4 extra base hits. All of them were doubles. At least 3 of the 4 runs scored were by doubles for San Francisco. And Jordan Vujovic went 1-for-4 with an RBI and 2 runs scored. Kyle Nell 1-for-2 with a run scored, a pair of RBIs in the contest for the Dons. And then Adam Shue, he went 2 innings pitch, giving up 1 earned run, walked 1 with a strikeout in the contest, picking up in his debut start, picking up the W for San Francisco. So let's recap that series. The week in review preview, Coach. Your thoughts as we recap of that series.
Well, Brian, I thought you did a pretty good job recapping it there, but I think my thoughts, obviously, in Game 1, we carried the lead all the way until the 8th inning. We had a leadoff walk, and then base hit, and then they tried to bunt. We left the ball in the middle. Guy hit a double to tie it 2-2. We made a pretty good pitch for a pop-up to keep it at 2-2, and then base hit to make it 4-2. So they did most of their damage in the 8th inning with one out, and they went up 4-2, and then they added an insurance run in the 9th inning to make it a 5-2 game. It was a game that we had control of for a solid 7 innings, and we just didn't do enough offensively. We just didn't do enough pitching-wise to win a close game like that. So we lose 5-2. We come back on Saturday and play pretty good, make it a 6-2 game. And then Sunday's kind of the same result as Friday. You know, Sunday we're in a really tight game up until the 5th inning, and then we give up 8 runs, and we end up losing 11-1. So we actually played pretty good, except take 2 innings out, an 8-run inning and a 3-run inning, and we're good. But you can't give up big innings if you're going to win in college baseball. So
nope.
1 out of 3 from a really good team. They go on to beat Loyola really bad on Tuesday, 19-7, 19-8. And then, we played pretty good yesterday. We had some extra base hits. I thought Mario DeMero gave us some energy with the way he swung the bat, 3 hits off the bench. I thought we pitched pretty good, especially late in the game with Maleras. 5 or 6 strikeouts in 2 innings pitched. So I was excited about that piece of it. And, we got some big hits. Kyle Now came up with the big hit to open the game up. Big hit in the first inning by Harris Williams to put us up 2-0. I thought Vujovic had a really nice at-bat to add a run with 2 outs. We still didn't do a really good job of scoring runners from third base less than 2 outs, or moving runners at second base in no-out situations. So we got to do a better job in situational hitting. We've got to do a much better job of getting guys on base and stealing bases. And then we got to do a lot better job playing defense. I thought defensively we've been really below average, throwing it around from behind the dish with our catchers, not playing defense well enough at first base with what we're doing there. The outfield play has been actually pretty stellar. We've made some really nice plays other than Darius Foster's error on Saturday in 2. But
that's opened the floodgates for a big inning.
Yeah, that's tough. But, I think all in all we pitched pretty good in the 4 games, and I like what we see. We got Ornito made a really nice appearance. Caleb Woltz, both guys coming off of injury, made a nice appearance. So we got 2 guys back. I thought all of our transfers, other than Jenkins, got out of the gate pretty good. Lombard had a really nice outing. I thought that Sam Beck was good enough to help us win on Sunday. I really like what we're able to do with all the rest of those guys. So excited about the weekend series with Utah Valley. Hoping that we can get off to a good start on Friday, and then we'll take it from there one day at a time.
All right, Coach, go get him.
Thanks, B.
That's USF Dons head coach Nino Giarratano. USF Dons are back at it for the weekend series. It will be, Game 1 will be Friday at 2 p.m., a double dip Saturday, 10:30 a.m., baseball and breakfast on the Hilltop, 10:30. Second game will start at least 25 to 30 minutes, a half hour after the first game is concluded on Saturday for Game 2 or Game 3 overall of the series. One single game on Sunday, Game 4 at 12:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Catch the action on USFDons.com via the WCC Sports Network. I'm Brian Professor B. Davis. Thank you. And thank you. You were listening to USF Dons, the Diamond on the Hilltop weekly podcast on Usf-Tv Plus podcast. San Francisco Toyota is proud partner of USF Dons and has proudly served the greater Bay Area community for over 50 years. Visit its 2 showrooms and award-winning service departments near the USF campus, located at 3800 Geary Boulevard and 1701 Van Ness Avenue in San Francisco. San Francisco Toyota, a trusted member of our community since 1966. Back here on USF Weekly Diamond on the Hilltop podcast presented by San Francisco Toyota here on Usf-Tv Plus audio podcast. Our next guest on our podcast, we're going to talk with the voice of the UC Davis Aggies. His name is Greg Wong from UC Davis Baseball on ESPN PLUS. As Greg Wong talking about the state of the UC Davis Aggies. We did this on our pregame show doing this week, right before the Dons took on the UC Davis Aggies up in Davis for their midweek contest up in Davis. And the showing of the new spirit of their new head coach after all the ugly allegations of the hazing incident that took a ripple of the program. Welcome to our USF Dons baseball pregame show on USF Audiocast, USF TV Plus Audiocast. We're talking with Greg Wong, the radio doing UC Davis Aggies baseball for ESPN Plus, as the Dons getting ready to take on the UC Davis Aggies in their first road game and first midweek conference of 2022. So, Greg, a lot has happened with this program. A lot of controversy, the whole scandal with the hazing incidents led to the resignation of Matt Vaughn. He's been at the program for 10 years, and they got a new coach, Tommy Nicholson, and they're hitting the restart button, starting from ground zero, just like building a cake from scratch.
Yeah, no doubt. They had a lot going on in the program over the last few years, but now I think everybody's really excited to get this new era started. Tommy Nicholson, who is a Northern California guy, he's coached at Stanford for a long time. That's where he came from before coming here. And he also coached at Sac State. He coached Reese Hoskins, among a number of great players to come out of that program. And just talking to him, he's saying all the right things. He's a guy with a good vision for where the program wants to go. This team that hasn't had a lot of baseball success over the last few seasons. But this year it's going to be the start of what he hopes is a successful rebuild, but I think there's a lot of optimism within the program that they're heading in the right direction.
Tell some of the new players, it's a lot of freshmen on this team. This is a very young roster, maybe the youngest roster in the Big West Conference.
Yeah, a lot of that has to do with the fact that they haven't had the chance to recruit. This new coaching staff got here in December, so that was past the recruiting window. So all these players are either holdovers that stuck with the program and didn't transfer out, or incoming freshmen, and then a few other players that they picked up along the way. So it's going to be interesting to see how all these players meld. One player that's off to a good start is Jonah Henriksen, who's their first baseman. He hit a home run in the series against St. Mary's, and he's one of the returnees from last season. He's a local kid. He's from Davis High School, and now he's playing at UC Davis. And he's going to be one of the players that they're going to try to rely on offensively, because like we said, it's going to be a work in progress to see who's going to step up, because, again, they really haven't had the resources, this coaching staff, yet to get the players in that they want. And now with this new group, just trying to see what melds right and trying to find the right formula.
Well, it's going to be this team. Not that long ago, it felt like not long ago, this team was in the NCAA regionals after making that successful transition from being Division II to a full-time Division I, and you know, a lot has happened since. And then plus with you know, we were talking about earlier off air about this with this transfer portal. You know, when you have a situation like this, there's no way sugarcoating it. That's the dreadful word, maybe the dreadful word, the transfer portal, the equivalent to the four-letter word dreadful.
Yeah, I mean, that for sure, that hurt UC Davis last season because, like you said, they had the investigation, so there was some unknown about what the future of the program was going to be. So the transfer portal makes it easier for players if they want to go to a different situation because of the uncertainty with this program. And a lot of players, you can't fault them. They took advantage of that, including the starting catcher for USF, who was the Aggie starting catcher last season. But we'll see, and we'll see this year, and then what this coaching staff's able to do after this. Maybe they'll utilize the transfer portal to bring in some different players. But in terms of this season, from all we've heard from Tommy Nicholson, he really likes the group that he's got, and he's excited to see where it takes them.
What's the outlook for this for down the road? Overall for 2023, 24 and beyond.
Yeah, I think it's going to be exciting. Tommy Nicholson told us point blank that he doesn't think this has to be a long rebuild. It's a rebuild, no doubt about it, but with the transfer portal and with the talent in this region and in the Big West Conference, UC Davis is the only Northern California team in a great baseball conference like the Big West. So there's a lot of talent in this area that I think Tommy Nicholson is hoping he's able to gather here, and who knows what happens this year. Maybe a player emerges, a few players hopefully emerge that can carry on into the future seasons, and then once the coaching staff's able to recruit some players and utilize the transfer portal, it seems like Tommy Nicholson's pretty optimistic about the future of this program. Again, not a lot of expectations for this year, though.
All right, Greg, thank you for being on.
Thank you.
That is Greg Wong is doing UC Davis Baseball, and you're listening to the USF Dons pregame show on Usf-Tv Plus Audiocast. That was Greg Wong, the voice of the UC Davis Aggies Baseball from ESPN PLUS. When we come back, we'll have an interview. We'll have a discussion with USF Dons outfielder in his 5th season on the Hilltop is Nick Yovetich. Talk about the team of this year and just a reflection, a look back of the 2 years of doing the recent pandemic. I'm Brian Professor B. Davis. You're listening to the USF Dons Diamond Weekly Hilltop Podcast on USF-TV Plus Audio Podcast. USF would like to thank the following partners for their support of Dons Athletics. Corona Extra, the top-selling brand of imported beer in the United States, is proud to partner with USF Athletics and support the Dons championship tradition. Enjoy the game, and remember to drink responsibly. Do you have ants and mice or other pests? Do what USF and contact Planet Orange for the Bay Area's best co-ed-friendly pest control at planetorange.com. That's planetorange.com. We continue on with our USF Weekly Diamond on the Hilltop podcast. And this week, our next guest for the USF Dons in his 5th season with the Dons, he's one of the holdovers for the team over the last 5 years in his 5th season. He's from over in Idaho. Our special guest today is going to be for the USF Dons, one of the co-captains, senior outfielder Nick Yovetich. And it starts right now. Welcome to our USF Dons, USF Diamond, Weekly Diamond on the Hilltop on USF-TV Plus Audiocast. We're talking with the 5th-year senior from Idaho, Nick Yovetich. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
The Dons right now are 2-2 in this young season, and it's first full season back with you guys after a 2-year hiatus. A lot has happened since the last time. It's been for quite some time. With the COVID and stuff, and you're playing that 5th year.
This game that everybody loves, and I just don't take it for granted anymore and try to appreciate each day.
No, you can't. It's funny in contrast because it was a quote you said in one of the articles I read online when shut down that it could be taken away, and that finality, it was just devastating from the comment, the expression for the team. I mean, it was just Oshawa. It was like the great line by the late Jim McKay of ABC's Wide World of Sports opening agony of defeat, and this thing was, I don't know if agony or defeat was you could put in the English language, but agony and distraught of how this thing broke up this chemistry where this team was really starting to hit its stride. You took a series from Cal State Fullerton, you take a series from Cal, you win a midweek game again that Sunday afternoon when it was my final broadcast of the season. And then the last game in person here against Sac State. Then 24 hours nobody didn't know at the time, the final podcast of the preview of the West Coast Conference against Pepperdine. Then less than 24 hours after I got off my work at Amazon from the dog patch out there in the Potrero Hill district, word came through that the season was canceled while you guys was on the bus, not knowing what was ultimately was at the halfway mark that you guys had to do the 360 about face and head home and pick up Coach at the airport from Oakland, because he would have been meeting you guys down there at Malibu after his recruiting over there at one of the community colleges in the East Bay. And tell me how that night was when you guys got back on campus, though, got back in there.
It was pretty sombering. It was, nobody really knew what to do. It was just kind of like something was taken right out of your hand. I think there was a group of us that really stuck together. We knew that we didn't have the season anymore to look forward to, but we knew that we still had the guys around us. And really at the end of the day, that was important to us and the most important thing. So I think really, it was tough in the moment, but at the same time, we came closer together because of that. Even the guys who aren't on the team anymore.
Or some of the guys who opted, like Ricky Urata, who was probably the best third baseman in the conference. And then for Robert Emery, you knew probably this was the end of the line for him. And then, the aftermath of what has happened, because, you guys were online, Zoom throughout the entire duration of the semester, throughout the entire summer, really with no baseball to do, really very limited. And, for yours truly, it kind of was like it took time, not only for after that with the ugliness, the awful current events with the George Floyd incident up in Minneapolis and the protests all around the country. And but I have to give credit to really for Joan McDermott, our AD, for Frank Olaco, and for Father, the president of USF, and for local officials, Miss London Breed, how they've got things to get things back to that first step of this pandemic and for social equality.
Yeah, once they let us back out onto the field, it was a big sigh of relief for everybody. I don't know for myself, but for everybody else, just having the team back together on the field, it was kind of like getting things back to normal. Even though around us wasn't normal, it started to feel like a step closer back to normality.
It's funny you put it in contrast. Yours truly had some tragedy, not only with the lost season, but I lost my grandmother that week after the George Floyd incident, then the riots, and she was up there at age, and 87 to be exact. In fact, my grandmother's birthday was 9 days before my birthday, so it's kind of in contrast. It was. Hung out with my family. This was on my mom's side of the family, cousins throughout the entire summer. Then also, I had my knee swelled up, had fluid. I had to rehab it through most of the summer, and then at the beach rehabbing. I ran into Todd Golden during the pandemic, one of the warm days at the beach, and then got a chance to run into a friend, ran into a cool friend of mine. We're about the same age, and just we kind of hung out a bit during the pandemic. And the one thing I will say, I'm not going to mention their name on the air, but I told them, I've been hanging out for you for one whole year, then I know the whole entire Dons roster of 22, and we had a big chuckle of it. But the point was, all last year had to do everything remotely except for the last game to say goodbye to Westerman and Landon and those guys, the seniors, and really saw Luke Keishel for the first time and some of the new faces for the first time, and now have a full year with them and Lane Onifat and some of the returning players.
Yeah, last year was, like we talked about, a good step back to normality, but this year, had some of the younger guys get their first steps last year, and we're just hoping to have the best year we can this year and really embrace the opportunities that we get.
Yeah, I totally agree, because last year, because it was like, you don't want to rehash it, but it's over, it's dead. But this is, I think, coming back to where I love doing, because this is my 24th year, and it's just really a blessing to be out here. A great staff. Like I say, I have to give commend to Joan. She's had a lot on her plate since replacing Scott Sidwell as our AD. This is her third full season, and just like the helpings on the plate just have not gotten any smaller. It's just bigger and bigger with the pandemic. This threw just wiped out everything, and being back to where I love doing though. But for your time here at USF, 5 years though, you were here a few years ago, and I mean, I'm optimistic this is going to be a good, successful season, and hopefully, win this conference, go up to Bear Island, and make a run to the NCAA tournament coming in early June.
Absolutely, that's a goal we have too, and we look forward to taking it one game at a time and getting better as we go, and hopefully playing the best baseball at the end of the year.
All right, Nick. Hey, good luck on the season, and we'll see you down the road. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me, B.
That's Nick Yovetich, the center fielder, outfielder. This is USF Dons weekly Diamond on the Hilltop podcast. Brian Professor B. Davis for Usf-Tv Plus+Audio podcast. Gear up at the new USF Dons online store and represent the Dons like never before. The new store features thousands of Dons products, gear, and accessories. Gear up today at usfdons.com/shop. That's usfdons.com/shop. That's going to do it for this edition of USF Diamond on the Hilltop weekly podcast on USF TV Plus Audiocast presented by San Francisco Toyota. Programming reminders coming up for upcoming events for the USF. It's going to be a busy week and through the weekend as a lot's going on out also on the Hilltop. The USF men's basketball team will be back coming up on Thursday night. They'll take on the number 1 ranked team in the country, Gonzaga Bulldogs. That will be a 6 p.m. tip-off at the Sobrato Center, and that game will be at the War Memorial Gym, Sobrato Center. That's going to be on 6 p.m. tip-off time. Game will be on ESPN 2 and KNBR 1050, the home of USF Dons men's basketball, as George Devine and Jim Brovelli with the play-by-play in action. And just a kind of a FYI, we just had recently got word that the USF Dons game versus Gonzaga for Thursday night has been officially sold out. So if you most likely, the best case scenario, you can catch the game on ESPN2 or on the Dons flagship station, KNBR 1050 a.m. Thursday night tip-off time at 6 p.m. Pat Olson and Jim Brovelli with the call on KNBR 1050. Then the Dons men's hoops will wrap it up Saturday afternoon at 2 p.m. They'll travel down Southern California to the Jenny Craig Pavilion in San Diego to take on the San Diego Toreros in their final regular season West Coast Conference finale, as the Dons will really have to win out to try to see if they can get their positioning for a spot in the West Coast Conference tournament. That will be on NBC Sports Bay Area and on KNBR 1050 a.m. Pat Olson and Jim Brovelli with the call Saturday afternoon in San Diego. And then for the women's hoops, they will have 2 games left. Thursday night, they'll be in Los Angeles to take on the Loyola Marymount Lions. That's a 7 p.m. tip-off, that game. And then they'll return to the Hilltop Saturday afternoon to take on the St. Mary's Gales for their home regular season finale. That will be at 2 p.m. this Saturday afternoon. That will be on usfdons.com. George Devine with the play-by-play in action live for the women's. And then the West Coast Conference tournament will be coming up. That will be for both the men's and women. That will be next Thursday, 1 week from this coming Thursday, from March the 3rd through March 8th, 2022 at the Orleans Arena in Las Vegas. The 2 survivors, the winners of both the men's and women's tournament, will get the automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. We already know that Gonzaga for the men's will be going to the tournament, but they're trying to play for a positioning to get one of the top seeds in the regional bracket. And as for USF Dons baseball, they'll be back they'll take on this weekend the Utah Valley this weekend. They will Game 1 will be Friday afternoon at 2 p.m. Game 2 will be a doubleheader on Saturday. It's going to be baseball breakfast Saturday or brunch Saturday morning, 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. That will be the doubleheader, and that will be that's going to be and then Game 3, the second game of the doubleheader, game number 3 and Game 2 of that twin bill will be at least, to be determined, at least no more than at least 25 to 30 minutes after the first game of that twin bill is completed. Then the Dons will wrap it up Sunday afternoon. It will be at 12:30, not 1 p.m., 12:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time will be the first pitch. That will be on usfdons.com via the WCC Sports Network. And then our next audio radio game for Dons Baseball for our midweek game, that will be coming up next Tuesday. That will be on March 1st. The USF Dons taking on the San Jose State Spartans they will be taking them on for the Mountain West Conference midweek. They will take on the Spartans at San Jose's Municipal Stadium. 3:05 the first pitch. Our pregame show will be commenced around 1:55 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That will be on the Satellite Digital Media News Network Radio in conjunction with USF Dons. Yours truly will be giving you the play-by-play in action down in the South Bay in San Jose. We'd like to thank all of our special guests. We'd like to thank Nick Yovetich, the Dons outfielder. We'd like to thank Greg Wong for UC Davis Aggies ESPN PLUS Baseball, and Nino Giarratano for his weekly podcast, Week in Review and Preview. And we'd like to remind you, if you want to check out all of our content, you can go on Facebook. You can go on youtube.com/USF-TV. You can search for that. And give us an email at usfdonstvnetwork@gmail.com. USF Dons weekly Diamond podcast on the Hilltop is presented by San Francisco Toyota. Visit its two locations in the city at 3800 Geary Boulevard and 1701 Van Ness Avenue in San Francisco. San Francisco Toyota has been serving the greater San Francisco Bay Area since 1966. And that's it for now for another edition of the USF Dons weekly Diamond on the Hilltop podcast. We'll hope to join you again next week for another edition of USF Dons Diamond on the Hilltop podcast, presented by San Francisco Toyota. I'm Brian Professor B. Davis. Thank you for listening, and enjoy your time, and go Dons.